Welcome back to another video. My name is Derek and today we're going to be taking a look at this pair of AirPods. The battery isn't lasting long, which is to be expected given their age. In fact, these are only lasting a few minutes before they're having to be recharged, so they definitely need a battery. So today I'm going to show you how to replace them. Let's get into the video. Alright, so here we've got a set of the AirPods, and here we have the new batteries. Using a clamping fixture like this one really helps in this process. We'll take the right one, we'll slide it on in. Now sometimes these end caps where it charges pull off really easily, where you can just literally get a thumbnail in there and you can pull it off. Other times you'll want to warm it up if it's not automatically coming out. This one, the adhesive is so old that it's just basically popping out on its own. So I'm able to actually just pull it right out, just like that. If you just break up the adhesive seal, then it'll come nice and out. You can kind of roll up the adhesive in the tweezers to help kind of break it up and pull it away. And when I pulled this off, it tore the flex right there. But that's the battery flex, it's not important. What would be detrimental is if we tore the flex that's behind that. That goes down right here on the side. Now because it's torn, I can just lift this flex up gently. Normally I would desolder it first, and we can kind of push the flex over like that. Now I'm going to take the time to gently clear out all of the adhesive that I can. It's just going to get in the way of sliding out the battery if we don't. And just like that, the adhesive comes out. Now I'm going to gently peel back the tack welds. And then it may not be the prettiest thing under a microscope, but you can then pop those tack welds off the battery cell. We'll try to fold this up and out of the way. Now there's two ways to get these out. One is you can see how there are three little holes on the top of the battery cell right there. You can get some hooks in there and lift it out. You can take some wick and kind of or any thick wire and solder it to the top of this metal part and then pull up. Alright, so here you can see I've got some tweezers. The tips are curved in like that. We'll take it down inside, and I'm just going to compress them down into those little slots there. And we can gently pull on the battery and watch it slide out, making sure it's not catching on to anything important. And then it'll just slide right out like that. And there's the battery. All right, we've got the battery out. To prep this, we do need to remove the damaged part of the flex. So I'm going to take a teeny bit of flux, get out a soldering iron, and the iron should take the little flex away really quickly, just like that, leaving a teeny little solder pad to solder to. And now it's as simple as taking the new battery, lining it up, grab that little tab, and we'll pop that piece of the battery off, leaving exposed that solder joint. Now we can take our new battery. And this one, there's a little metal piece that we're going to fold up, and that needs to line up with that part of the flex that we just desoldered. And then we will just slide it down on in, just like that. And we'll push it all the way down inside. And now we'll go back under the microscope so you can get a better view of the soldering. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit of flux. Now you could be protecting the plastic with some Kapton tape or some metallic tape. But as long as you're careful with the soldering iron, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to bend this guy down just a little bit so I can have better access to him to tin him with some solder. We'll take our soldering iron, put a little bit of fresh solder on there, and we'll come down to the tip there, and we'll put some solder on the tip of the tab there, and we'll take the iron tip and we'll solder it down. Alright, so we'll now bend him up into place so that there's not any slack in the bend back here in the bottom. I want it to be nice and straight, so that when it folds over, it doesn't take any additional room up. And then we'll take the iron tip and we'll carefully solder the two together just like that. Boom. Now that I'm satisfied with that solder joint, we'll go ahead and make sure the battery other flex is out of the way. And we'll carefully fold down the flex until it sits flush on top of the battery. And now I'm going to pre-tin the little battery flex tab here, just like that. Not a whole lot of solder. And then I know that the bottom's going to get in the way of the visual here a little bit, but we'll compress down
the flex and without melting the plastic, we'll solder that one in place, just like that. To close this up, we're just going to take a little bit of cold press glue, and I'm going to go around the perimeter of the inside, all the way around the exterior, and then we can just compress it on down. And squeeze out is okay here. Just going to wipe away the excess. Alright, I've got the end of it just in a little clamp here for a little bit. While we let that set up, let's take a look at the second one. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this if you don't have the clamping fixture, because you can easily just do it with your hands. And if it's being stubborn, you can always take some heat to it. I'm going to take some hot air. I've got it set at 180 degrees Celsius, but I'm not going to keep the heat on it in too long, like in one position for too long. I just want to warm it up ever so gently. You can see I'm even getting my fingertips right in there because it's not, going to kill me. So then we'll gently peel off and peel back the end cap here. And we'll go under the microscope again to look at this one. Here's what it looks like under magnification. You can see this old adhesive. It's just easy to peel away, and that's why it popped off on its own. Now obviously having a microscope isn't necessary, but it is quite nice to be able to see a little bit better. Now this one, the adhesive isn't so caked up that I'm not too worried about pulling it off. The other flex was encapsulated pretty well in the thick adhesive, so I'm not going to remove it like I'm this one, because now we have better access to the top because I can just put the end kind of off the edge here, and it's not going to get in the way, if that makes sense. Clean off all of the earwax. I think that can only imagine that's what all of this stuff is. The grimy stuff. And take a little bit of flux. We'll stick it on the flex down there. Take our iron tip and we'll touch it to the tip of this to melt it, and it'll pop up. As long as you're not pushing down too hard, it'll spring back up just like that. And then we'll hinge it up like before, and then we can desolder from the back of the flex there without melting the plastic. It too wants a little bit of flux to let go. Now here's a little trick with some wick. We'll add a bit of flux, take some solder, we'll put some on the end here, just like that, and then we will, without melting the plastic, we're going to attach it down below. Put some flux down there, and my little trick isn't working this time, so we'll just go to grab it. Now before we slide the other one in, I'm just going to show you how to prep this one quickly under magnification. We'll bend this over like so. Take some flux, and we're going to coat both sides of the flex in a little layer of flux here as well. We'll take our iron with a little bit of solder on it, and we'll apply it to both sides of the flex and the battery. Alright, and we'll pull the old battery out, and then we'll push the new battery in. And what you got to be aware of is this tab needs to line up with the solder joint on the flex. So we're gonna want to spin it ever so slightly like so, and we can push it all the way down in, and now it's lined up more or less perfectly with where it needs to be. And we'll quickly come in and we'll tack it up and we'll bend it over. I'm not exactly sure when I did it, but I did overheat this section a tad bit. I normally don't. Maybe somebody caught it when I did it. We'll fold over the other battery flex, put a drop of flux down in there, and I melted it again. Just a little bit. Dang it. We'll smooth that out. There, you'll never know. I'm going to take the time to really clean out all the gunk here so we can get a good nice and seal on the bottom with the cold press. Alright, fill this up with some glue, and then we can compress it down inside. Alright, I've got it clamping up nicely in this. After the glue sets, we can go ahead and take off the clamp. Take these guys out with a microfiber cloth and some isopropyl alcohol. We'll just give it a wipe down, getting rid of any potential residue on the outside. And then now, go ahead and stick them back in. They're charging. Still want to plug this in and test it, but that's how to replace the batteries in some AirPods. And there we go. That's how to replace the batteries in AirPods. It's the exact same for the AirPods first and second generation. Very similar on all of the AirPods. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed if you found this useful. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.